are in a different place because I am at my sister's house in Jersey watching my niece and nephew with Ari and my brother-in-law. Being home in Jersey, and maybe in particular in the last week because my sister just committed to my alma mater. I have a sister who is at my alma mater now, and I'm just like thinking about 20-year-old me, about 29-year-old me now, and about the last decade and things that I have spent money on that I do not regret. If you hear background noise, that is also because I'm watching my nephew right now. My niece is taking a nap. So let's hope we can get through this video without crying babies. This whole being home sparked a process for me of like, okay, I am turning 30 this year, 1993 baby here. My 20s are coming to an end. And so I wanted to think about some of the things that are money related that I have no regrets having spent money on. Mostly because I know some of us, if we get caught up with the savings goal and like the specific end in mind, we might just have laser focused vision on like reaching that goal and nothing else matters. But I think putting it in perspective, a lot matters. A lot of what you're doing now, even as you pay off debt, even as you save for financial independence, whatever it is that your goal is, don't make it so that your journey is not fun. Your journey there is not one that you've enjoyed. So I wanted to first start out this video kind of sharing my average salary since turning 20. 2013, I pulled up this information, by the way, from the Social Security website. You're able to go on like my Social Security and you get a incomes record. It basically gives you your history, your income history. So using that data for up until 2021, because 2022 has not been put into the information yet since I have to do my taxes, I manually added 2022. So the average income in these last 9 years of life since 2013 has been 46K. 46K. And obviously the biggest reason why it's like that low is because 2013 and 2014, I was a student, so my salary was like very limited. That was the average that I had within my 20s, just to give you some kind of context and financial context. Okay, so just to kind of run through some of the things that I do not regret spending money on in the last 9+ years of my 20s has been, number one, therapy. That started in college, and I was definitely 20 when I first started college. So I've been going to therapy for 9 years. Not consistently, obviously, because I started in college. It was free. So it was like a good introduction that was like something that I was able to like experience without having to like have that sticker shock when you realize how much therapy is. Obviously, when I got out of college and I still wanted to like go to a therapist, I started with the ones that were covered by insurance. But then I quickly realized like I'm not finding anybody that, you know, I care to continue seeing within my insurance. So I started going off insurance. And then that, you know, therapy has been like 100+ per session every time I've gone to see somebody. Still paying for therapy, and that's something I obviously do not regret. And that is number one. And these are not listed in any specific order, but I think therapy being number one is so important because of how much I needed it in that early 20s and how I've seen the progress of where I am today and like how I'm able to really understand myself better. So therapy, number one thing I do not regret spending money on in my 20s, because now I can go into my late 20s and, well, my last year of my 20s and into a new decade with a better understanding of who I am. Number two is very specific. After graduating college in 2015, I was 21 and I was like, you know what? I want to take an improv class. I want to learn comedy. I just want to do something that scares me. And I signed up for a comedy class at UCB, which I don't know if that location is still there, but anyway, in the city. It was a like 10-week class, And at the end of the program, you had to like do a show. And so that is something I don't regret spending money on, because at the time, $300 or maybe it was like $450 or something like that. It wasn't like now it's like, okay, fine. But at the time I didn't have that money. So to feel like, okay, I'm gonna put what I have worked for like at the restaurant where I was working at and spend that on a comedy class just because it's a hobby, something that I'm interested in, like that was smart. But also, even still to this day, I talk about that class because it really helped me get uncomfortable. And I enjoyed it so much that I like miss being on the stage, even though it was like a short period of time. But I'm again interested in signing up for a comedy class and doing not improv, but maybe trying stand up. And it's just like things like that, and not being afraid to like do the thing that scares you. So I'm glad that I purchased that class and course at UCB. Number 3, also pretty specific, but I think it fits into a broader theme. It was my study abroad experience. So this was really at the turn of my 20th year. Like I made this decision when I was 19, and then when I was 20, I was abroad. But I do not regret having spent the extra $4K that semester for this experience. And the reason why it's like something that I even want to include on this list is because I very much thought about the money when I signed up for this study abroad program. I was like, I don't know if it makes sense to go abroad if it's going to cost an extra $4,000. Like I already have a hard time paying for my tuition. Now I'm gonna just like increase it by 4K just so I can like live abroad. I made concessions when I decided where I was going to study abroad, because I wanted to go originally to Belgium, and I picked a program that included meals, that included my room and board, so that I didn't have to pay all of that stuff out of pocket, and I can use my student loans to fund that. So yes, I don't think I took out more student loans, but I had to find other ways to supplement what I was going to need to pay for that semester. I do not regret it because I met amazing women who are my friends up until today, like the best people ever. We had incredible experiences, memories that will always talk about, and something about studying abroad and living somewhere for a period of time. I'm that meme of the girl who's still talking about her study abroad experience. It was definitely an experience. Like I got a lot of shit for going away to college my first year, and even like not living at home when I was in college. So the fact that I went and decided to say, you know, I'm gonna actually go to Europe for a semester, and you're gonna have to be okay with that, to my parents, like it was like the first time one of us like did something like that. And don't regret that like I had loans that semester. I do regret leaving early because I ran out of money. And I think it was that semester that like helped me understand like, oh, money is a thing you need. And like I already knew that. Running out of money at the end of that trip was the reason I had to go home, and it definitely gave me a perspective. So I think the specific one here is my study abroad experience, but the overall theme is like travel, obviously. That is an experience that if you take it, like you probably won't regret it. And I continue to see that in the trips that I've taken in the last 9 years. Number 4, kind of already touching on this theme of experiences. I do not regret the tickets to the concerts I purchased, the tickets to the music festivals, the tickets to the Broadway shows, entertainment experiences that I bought for myself in my 20s. I'm still doing it because I have always been like, live that moment that you're having. Tickets to concerts and shows is like, these are specific periods in your life where you might like an artist, and maybe it's not going to be the same artist 5 years later. Like early 20s, I was paying to go see like Garbage, you know, the band. I was paying to go see the New Pornographers. Now, who I like, the concerts that I go to might look different, but it's still all the same. Like paying to go see a band that you enjoy is an experience that you're gonna have. I took my sister for her birthday to go see Arcade Fire. We were in the nosebleeds, but we had such a blast. We got like blonde wigs. I don't really know what the situation was with these blonde wigs, like why we decided we wanted to get blonde wigs, but we got matching outfits and it was a whole experience. And still, even with our friends, Ari and I talk about the music festivals we've gone together. My cousin who lives in Canada, I've gone to music festivals with her and I still remember those experiences. So I think there's something about going to concerts in your 20s, and I hope that this continues obviously in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s. You are young and you will do that thing to go see that band, that performer that you love, and you don't care if you have like the cheapest seats at the top of the arena, you will go. And you will have a great time. Don't regret it. And this year, my 29th year of life, or 30th, I don't know, the year I turned 30, I am going to see Taylor Swift, I'm gonna see Beyonce, and the list goes on. For Ari's birthday, we're going to see Mattel Lane. He actually knows about that. But we're also going to a hockey game. Number 5 is also a little bit broader, but I started a creative project. I had to pay for that creative project by buying a Squarespace website, by buying a domain, and all those things cost money. And while of course there are hobbies that you have that don't cost money, I don't regret a single dollar that I've spent on first gen money. Something that like started out as me writing like what I spend in a weekend, diaries. We're gonna bring those back. Having spent money on the thing that I enjoy doing outside of my 9 to 5 has allowed me to, again, understand myself better, but it's also helped me use different muscles in my brain that I wasn't using in my 9 to 5. I was fulfilling that creative outlet. The things that I was doing outside of work helped me get and transition out of account management into marketing because I had experience, or rather I had gained the skill to do something that I was doing outside of work to help me do my job at work. I do not regret spending the money that I spent to do something is a creative outlet for me. Now, I mean, it's not a profitable business by any means, but I have made money, not anywhere near what I have spent and put towards running first gen money, but it's still something I don't regret. So like if you have some interest, if you want to start a hobby, like buy yourself the stuff that you need to actually be able to do this, because you don't know what's going to come out of it. And that's not to say that you need to turn your hobby into a job, because not everybody needs to do that. And sometimes it's okay to not do that and just have a straight up hobby. It's okay to spend money on the things that you like to do as a hobby or as maybe something that helps you start a business. Number 6 is my first apartment. I didn't buy this, obviously. I was renting, putting money aside, and being able to pay to move out of my parents' basement into an apartment that I pay for with my partner, because we moved into an apartment together. That is something that I do not regret, even though it is a costly expense, right? Like going from paying no rent in your parents' basement to saying, you know what, it's time for this relationship. It's time for me to leave the home I grew up in, leave the comfortability of living with my parents, to move in with my partner, to see what this next stage of our relationship is, even if it's going to cost us $2,100 a month, which is how much our first apartment was together. That is something I don't regret spending money on because of what it was able to do for my relationship, what it was able to do for me, right? Get outside of your comfort zone. And that was a real way to do it. Okay, so the next 2 are more practical, like actual things that I purchased in my 20s that I'm like, I'm glad I did that. Number not 8, I don't even know what number we're at. 7 probably? Number 7, AAA. AAA. I do not regret buying this. I have been buying it since 2018. I did not grow up in a household where we had AAA. It seemed like such a luxury. We've always had old cars, but mostly we've always had like cars that just like break down, you know? And I must have seen that like Ari had AAA, or we had used Ari's AAA once, and I was like, oh, this is nice to be able to not have to worry about like, oh, your car needing to get like towed, or having to pay all of that amount all at once. I gifted that to my parents because I didn't at the time have my own car. So I gifted it to my parents as a Christmas gift. And I have been continuing to just pay that every year because it's just nice. It's a nice thing to have when you need it. My family has used the heck out of that. My dad is always like, okay, I need to call AAA. We got to take the car to the mechanic. And so do not regret spending money on that. The last one is an entrance fee to the New York City Marathon. I ran the New York City Marathon. I did not qualify it. I was doing it for a nonprofit. And in order to even just like enter the marathon, in order to like sign up, I guess register, I had to pay a fee. That fee was, I think, like $250. Again, I think the biggest theme here is like experiences that challenge you, that make you grow as a person. I paid for this in February. The race wasn't until November, actually a weekend before my birthday, or the weekend before my birthday. I trained and prepared myself for not a full year, for 8 months. I really pushed myself. I didn't think that I would be able to not only run, yes, the running 26 miles, a big feat. Also, the second part of that was like raising money for the nonprofit I was running for. So I was like, by signing up, by registering to this New York City Marathon, you are committing to raising these $4,000. I think it was 4,000. You are committing to running 26.2 miles. You've done a half marathon, but a marathon. I didn't know that I could do it, if my body could do it. And I wanted that. I wanted to like feel that I could do something that I thought was hard for me. And I did it. And so I spent that money because I knew it meant I would grow, and I knew it would make me go to places that I was not familiar with. And I think that's been like a theme in my 20s, and it's obviously been a theme of my life. I'm not gonna stop doing that when I turn 30, but I wanna have experiences that help me grow as a person, that help me have a better understanding of who I am, that help me have a better understanding of the things I like. Being able to experience joy, get uncomfortable, so that there are things that will scare me, but that I'm like less afraid of doing. Those were the things that I do not regret spending money on, and I'm like happy that I spent money on in my 20s. Core of this is like, at the end of the day, we're all working towards our goals. We're all trying to, increase our net worth. We're all trying to pay off our debt, whatever our goals are. But we can't not enjoy the journey. There is a way to enjoy your journey and get to your destination. And in these last 9 years, in these 20s, I have been in debt. Student loans. I entered my 20s with student loans, and I kept adding them until my last year of college. But I also paid them off. I also started investing. I also grew the net worth. I also learned about how to optimize my money. I learned how to ask for more money. And I think though all of that can exist at the same time, right? Like, I can do all of that and still have had experiences that I do not regret. Experiences that cost me money. There's a balance. It shouldn't just be like go, go, go one way, or go, go, go the other way. Okay, so that is all I have for today's video. I will be back next week, maybe less tired. If you haven't already, subscribe, show me some love. And check out our podcast series. Right now we're in the middle of the wedding series, interviewing different people about their weddings, how much they spent. Let's like be nosy. But I'll see you next week. Goodbye.